Hello everyone, I am NTom64.
I'm the Flameclaw.
And I'm Ex-Gamer Richy.
And welcome one and all to the HellfireComms playthrough of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Sega Mega Drive, or Sega Genesis, if you're that way inclined. Now I don't usually do this sort of thing, but I feel I have to start this playthrough with a bit of a retroactive apology, as it were, because you may remember, like 3 or 4 years ago, I've honestly forgotten how long it was, but FTA, Some Call Me Johnny and I did an April Fool's Day prank where we pretended to put up part 1 of a Sonic 2 playthrough, only to have it turn out to be a complete playthrough, it's that short of a game, of Sonic Labyrinth. Two very different styles and levels of quality of Sonic game, I think you'll agree. But take this as, I don't know, a makeup gift, as it were, and I'm blathering now, so let's get into the game proper. Sonic 2 came out in November of 1992, and it brought a couple of new things to the table. First you got the Spin Dash, which allows Sonic to go from 0 to 100 in pretty much no time at all, and I've been getting conflicting reports as to whether this was like prototyped in Sonic CD, because it's in Sonic CD is the Spin Dash, but it's not as tightly programmed as it is here. I don't know, even Sonic Retro doesn't know this shit. So what would I, a humble YouTube commentator who talks over the games instead of making them, possibly, you know, have to glean from that kind of Wikipedia entry? And we also have Tails, Miles Tails per Hour, to use his full name, you know, miles per hour, etc. And he's basically a freak. He's an abomination. He uses his twin tails to fly through the sky for at least 10 seconds. Although if you go by Sonic Adventure, or, you know, the GameCube version, Sonic Adventure DX, which I recently abridged, it should be up on YouTube now, so if you want to catch up on that friggin' fossil of a playthrough in shortened form, you know, go ahead. I've actually forgotten the point for this. Oh yes, he flies over the ocean in SADX, which, you know, is, Two Tails was pushing it to begin with, but that just completely shatters my suspension of disbelief. But Tails actually originated in the Master System version of Sonic 2, which I believe debuted a month or so before the Mega Drive one, Flame?
Yeah, it was around that same sort of time, because Sonic 2 Mega Drive came out on, I forget the actual date, but what is now known as Sonic Tuesday, you know, epic pun, and that was quite rare for the time, because that was actually a worldwide release, which still rarely happens now, but back then that was like, that never happens. So, like, the fact they had this big promotion of this one day where Sonic 2 for the Mega Drive came out everywhere, that was something quite special back then.
Now, you all know me, I'm a 3NK stan, I love it, I think it's great, it's got great levels, bosses, music, etc. But, Flame, you're of a differing opinion. You're a Sonic 2 fanboy, aren't you?
Well, I would say Sonic 2 is probably my second favourite of the classics. I tend to lean more towards CD because it's got that little bit of a quirk that it just appeals to me. I know I'm weird, but like there's something about this game. I just find it that bit more engaging than 3NK, and it's one of the things that I know it's very subjective. Like anything I could bring to the table about it, but I just find that this game keeps me interested for all the way through, whereas 3NK I tend to drop off a little bit through.
Is it because, number one, it's a brighter game visually? I would go so far as to call Emerald Hill garish, so it's got visual appeal, but it's also, I would say, the hardest of the classic Sonic games, because CD is fairly easy, 3NK is medium difficulty, 1 varies really, it's not all that balanced, but 2 is challenging, I would say, from Chemical Plant onwards. So was it the challenge factor that appealed to you?
I'm not even sure. See, I hadn't really thought about it like that, because I suppose, like, I always think of 1 and CD as the easiest, but I think that's more down to the fact that I've got experience with them. But 2, I've never seen it as overly difficult. Just, you know, it's got a little bit more bite to it than the others have.
Already you're starting to see the differences between Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 here. Whereas in Sonic 1 you got the Chaos Emeralds through, you know, getting 50 rings, jumping into a giant ring at the end of the stage, and go through some kind of MC Escher-esque nightmare maze. Here we have the debut of the classic half-pipe special stage. Not my favourite. That would be Blue Spheres in S3NK. I'm trying not to make this a Sonic 2 versus 3NK kind of debate playthrough, but you know, if I have to bring it up, I have to bring it up. And fun fact actually, Sonic Colors DS kind of created a nice middle ground between Sonic 2 and Sonic 3NK special stages. because you have the half-pipe, but you also have to collect a certain number of spheres to get the Chaos Emerald, which I always thought was pretty neat.
Ah.
So the thing with the Sonic Colors half-pipe is that because that had the touchscreen, it was a lot more, like, a lot easier to navigate than the Sonic 2 one, where you have to just, you know, manually steer Sonic left and right. You can just tap it and you're across in that one.
Yeah, and I'll give you a free tip here to avoid headaches down the road, especially in the later special stages. Go into the options before you start the game, turn Tails off so it's Sonic only. You'll thank yourself later.
Yeah, that is exactly why I just went as a Sonic only one here, because Tails, like, yeah, I know a lot of people like him as a kind of cute sidekick character, but he gets really sodding annoying in the special stages.
I love this, like Robotnik's first death machine. It's an ATV with a drill on the front, really.
It is just really ineffective. It's just like, you're not even going to put like a gun on it or something that might actually cause some damage. Like a slowly spinning drill that Sonic can just leap over the entire thing. Just, no. How stupid.
Oh, Richy with the hot takes. And speaking of hot takes, what's your hot take on Sonic 2, mate? Go now, please.
Well, I have actually played Sonic 2. Not to completion, at all. I got to Chemical Plant and then I was just like, no.
Richy, you casual.
Well, to be fair, I was at the National Video Game Arcade, so I didn't have oodles of time to try and play through the entire game. That said, I'm awful at 2D Sonic. Like, I have known this for ages, and that play session kind of proved it, because I got to, I think it was Act 2 of Chemical Plant, and I was just like, I don't know where the frick I'm going, so you know what, just
Fair dues, because Act 2 of Chemical Plant is the harder of the two, but just the sheer speed you get through going through pipes and like rolling down hills and whatnot. If there's one big improvement that I'd have to point to Sonic 2 having over its predecessor, it's just the sense of speed. This is Sonic as he was meant to be, at least in the 2D plane. He's fast, he's blue, he's a hedgehog. At least you're getting what you have described to you on the box, you know, so there's no false advertising here.
Yeah, Sonic 2 does kind of turn Sonic into a bit more of a visual spectacle as well as like a platformer, because like Sonic 1, a lot of the platforming there was like either you get a small section where you go fast or a small section where you stop and you wait for platforms to move around. Looking at you, fucking Spring Yard, Marble, yeah. Basically everything. But whereas Sonic 2, I think it does a better job of, like, you have platforming sections. A lot of platforming now revolves around timing your jumps and things like that. Things that you can do quickly.
I agree. Sorry, I didn't want to have an awkward silence there, so I just agree with whatever was just said, really. But no, I love Chemical Plant, and I think of like all the stages that got represented in Sonic Generations, this is one that kind of like they hit the nail on the head, really. Because when I think of Sonic 2, I think of Chemical Plant Zone, and Green Hill was going to be in there anyway. If it wasn't, I would have gone with Starlight Zone for Sonic 1. But what are you going to do? Oh, Flame, how about Green Hill and Sonic Forces, mate?
How about let's not have that argument, because I don't want to hurt anyone.
Oh, jeez.
I think with Green Hill and Sonic Forces, we should all just wait and see the context. Because hopefully that will make it alright, but we shall see.
Well, you know, at the time we're recording this, E3 is like a month away, so maybe we'll see more footage. I thought it was fine, if a bit on the simplistic side in terms of level design and whatnot. It's certainly not the abomination that people are making it out to be. I think that's completely overblown.
Well,
you're allowed to have that opinion. I have deemed it acceptable. NTom has said you may dislike Green Hill Zone in Sonic Forces, so rest easy. You're not going to get a content ID from HellfireComms or anything.
Well, so the thing is, I see things like that trailer they put out with Green Hill, and I see a little boost pad in front of a fucking loop-de-loop, and that, I worry that's indicative of just the design philosophy as a whole.
Sonic 4, right?
Well, I mean, there are some similarities in that sense, yeah.
Yeah,
I know you're trying to take the piss, but I do see it.
Well, you know, I find it hard to disagree with the comparisons, but I think people are describing the music as Sonic 4-esque as well, and I think people who say that need to go back and listen to Sonic 4's soundtrack, not Episode 2, Episode 1, because that was the dying cat shit. Episode 2 was much better, I think.
Well, Episode 1 was dying cats. Episode 2 was like the cats are still sort of getting better, but they're not great.
Jesus. Recovering from Cancer Cats soundtrack quality. God damn.
Oh my days. Well, at least from the sounds of things, Sonic Forces, at least in its main theme anyway, is sounding rocking.
Yes, I love that opening theme. I know they've only posted the instrumental so far. We haven't heard the full vocal version, but the instrumental is giving me promising signs.
That's Tomio Otani handling the Forces soundtrack, isn't it?
Yeah, he's handling the direction. I don't know whether there's other artists appearing. Like, there was that weird cocktails about whether Sonoe was going to be in, because at first he wasn't, and then I think it was Ruby Eclipse said something along the lines that he might be. I can't remember exactly, but it was one of them messages getting passed around the fan base because they didn't have a proper live stream for it.
Yeah, well, I think the lesson to take from that kind of announcement is don't believe Ruby's lies until they turn out to be truths. And you pretty much blitz past the hardest part of Chemical Plant Act 2, mate, where you have to go up the rotating blocks and whatnot. And yeah, this boss is this is certainly a boss, alright.
So one thing I find interesting about that boss is in some of the early prototypes of the game there's actually a sprite. In fact, I think the sprite's still in the data for the final game, but it's just of Eggman in that mech, but the inks just fell on his head. And it's fucking hilarious. I wish they had that in the final game.
Fun fact about that boss, actually, if you duck down, the ink won't affect you at all, so really, you know, the only way you're going to get hurt is by bumping into him accidentally, or, you know, die through falling through the things in the floor. So yeah, all right. Aquatic Ruin Zone. Whole lot of water in this game. I was talking to Richy before we started recording. And I was like, you know, there's tons of water in Sonic 2, but you know, you get to Sonic and Knuckles, no water whatsoever, which is pretty odd because Sonic 3 had his fair share of the blue stuff.
So you see, Sonic 2, 7 out of 10. IGN, too much water.
Probably could have struck that joke a little bit better, I think, but who am I to judge?
I think so too.
What's your take on Aquatic Ruin, Flame?
Don't really like Aquatic Ruin that much. It feels like a bit of a halt level after you got Emerald Hill, which is your blitz through quickly, Chemical Plant, which is your platform quickly, and you got the threat from the rising water and that difficult section. And Aquatic Ruin, it's the sort of middle of the road, does the job level. And I don't think the aesthetic of the level is that engaging either. It's basically just another grass level, but with a bit of water.
Well, I would classify it as a ruins level, but
it's all green.
I'll accept it. I'll accept it.
Speaking of the topic of there being a lot of water, just earlier today, I found a really amusing fan hack of this game, at least to me, where what it is the whole game is underwater. Like, as soon as you start the level, the water rises. And I just found a long play of someone playing it, and they actually had to pick up some really cool tricks just to fling themselves into the air every now and then, just so they could keep going, just to get right to the top of the screen.
That does sound pretty cool, actually. It's better than the Sonic 2 Dimps edition.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's fucking hilarious.
Do you want to explain to our viewers what that is, Flame?
Essentially, after the initial Sonic 4 debacle of how the physics in that game were, in the nicest way possible, not that great.
No.
Basically, someone made a fan hack where it took all the lesser pleasant quirks from Sonic 4, like the excessive boost pads, you know, the physics, sometimes you get stuck on the walls and stuff like that, and just put that into a Sonic 2 fan hack. If that's one thing I can give the Sonic fanbase credit for in terms of the hacking community, there is a great sense of humour going around it.
Wow, you've got a lot of emeralds already, mate. How many are there in Sonic 2 exactly?
This was the first of the main series games, I believe, where there are 7.
There were 6 in Sonic 1, yeah, so that sounds about right.
This is the part of the level where I don't think you can actually get back through this. I have to backtrack on myself that little bit just to get back on track.
Terrible. Terrible level design. Good job killing Grounder back there, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with that fucking annoying voice in the cartoon, he deserves it.
Ah, he's fine, he's fine. What's your favourite Sonic cartoon, Flame, since we're on the subject?
I haven't really watched much of all of them. I lean towards Boom. Just like, I know the meta humour does get a bit excessive at times, but
Jeez,
at least it is self-aware.
Well,
Yeah.
My pick still has to go for Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. If just because I like the humour, I think Jaleel White and whoever played Tails, bounce off each other pretty well. And of course, the magnificent, but sadly no longer with us, Long John Boulder as Robotnik.
I will say I do have a bit of a guilty pleasure for some of the music in Underground, but
Yes.
as a series, tut.
Yeah, I'm biting my tongue now, so let's go back to the Spin Dash. I did not learn until years after the fact that the Spin Dash was actually a point of contention when it came to Sonic 2's design. Like, a lot of people likened it to, like, the classic version of the boost, like, oh, all momentum is out the window now, you can just go fast whenever you want, and I don't know, I never saw it like that, because you've still got to put, like, a bit of, like, timing and effort into it. With the boost, it's literally just a button press and you're away.
Well, yeah.
The thing for me is, I see the Spin Dash as, like, it does save some of the slower moments in the game, because if you think back to Sonic 1, like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of parts where you're just sort of going slow, and Sonic can't really speed himself up in the sections that don't naturally lend themselves to momentum.
Yeah.
Whereas here, both with the fact you've got this Spin Dash and you've got level designs that work better with momentum, there is still a degree of skill that you Spin Dash at the right places, you have to make your jumps at the right places to do anything cool with it. It's not a case like the boost where, you hold it in and as long as you don't crash, you'll win.
Yeah, and also the whole thing with the Spin Dash is that, plus the Spin Dash, you've got the fact that you can curl into a ball as you're rolling down a hill, or what have you, and getting the timing down on that obviously requires skill, because you could just fall out of that at any moment and that would be really bad.
Well, I think curling into a ball was in Sonic 1, but
Oh, it might have been. Shows how much I know about classic Sonic, which is precisely 0.
I didn't even realise Sonic was in Sonic 1, I thought it was Bubsy.
No, he's in Forces, let Epic Maymay, right?
Oh yes, let Epic Maymay indeed. You're a cool guy for getting all these rings, Flame.
Yeah, totally, in one take. No fuck-ups and resets at all here.
Yes, I think we all know how the recording process works at this point, right?
In terms of the Spin Dash, I know we talked about it briefly earlier on. We had a bit of a bicker on Skype before we started about how this works, looking stuff up. But, like, comparing it to the CD one, I always saw the CD one, like, this is my speculation, that was an intentional kind of nerf on it. Because that game has the Super Peel Out. And the Super Peel Out has the speed boost, the easy to use speed boost, but you're still vulnerable. Whereas the Spin Dash, you're not vulnerable, you can plough through things, but they sort of nerfed that down to make it less of a convenient just dash past everything.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I don't like that the CD Spin Dash works like that, but I sort of see it as encouraging you to actually use the peel out in some situations, because otherwise there is literally no point to the peel out existing.
Yeah, true. I mean, like, I forget whether it's Mania and Forces or just Mania, they've introduced the drop dash, so that's pretty cool. But I guess that's all the time we have for part 1 of Sonic 2, guys. Please join us next time, where we'll encounter more of Robotnik's wacky inventions. See you next time.